The first tab you're going to see in reports is the selection tab. The selection tab allows us to make sure that Practicad only grabs a hold of those entities that we'd like to report. For example, if we pull down our menu, you can see here that we've got multiple reducers on our drawing. And currently, we would just like to report the reducers that we're actually going to order. In other words, if we exit out and we look at the properties of each of these reducers, you'll notice one big difference. The three reducers on the top, if we click on their properties, their fabrication level is cut and label. This means that these are going to be sent down to the plasma cutter, and we don't want to incorporate them in our report. You'll notice that they were taken from the original Practicad template fitting, finish length round reducer. The other 9 conicals on the drawing, or reducers, were basically coming from the conical catalog. The conical catalog was the custom catalog we built from the fitting reducer. These actually are going to be set to order. You will notice in the property box that their fabrication level is set to order. In this particular report, we would only like Practicad, even if we highlight all of them, to report just the fittings that we called conicals that are going to be purchased from another vendor. So what we do is we must use the options under the selection tab. So we're going to go back into the library icon. And as always, Practicad remembers the last place in the library we were. So the selection tab is already checked and we're back inside reports. What we're going to do is we're going to maximize our screen with our maximize button. And we're now going to click on the close browser button so that we can just focus on what is available inside the reports. Now currently you'll notice that the selection set is blank, and so are all of the fields we have here. You will also notice that if we go to Sketch, which is where we design the bulk of our report, all of the data, if we open up all of these fields, you'll notice that we currently are only offering the 4 fields: page header, document footer, and page footer. And when we get into the sketch, we're going to go over all of the different choices here. But whatever we do pick in selection tab is going to have an effect on what we see in the sketch tab. So I wanted to point out, currently as a default, each blank report will only start with these 4 rows. Now what we're going to do is go into the selection tab. And right here you can see that we have a checkbox for create. It's always the same symbol to create everywhere in the software. And we're going to say we want to add a selection set. When we do this, Practicad is going to ask us to name whatever we want to call this selection set. And for this tutorial, we're going to call it conicals. Now the name here does not make a difference because it is not something that shows on your report. However, naming it will make it a lot easier to sort through later. So we're going to name it conicals. Once we choose our selection set conicals and have added it to this field, you'll notice under the sketch that if we click once, you can see that Practicad has added the conical header and the conical footer and a row called detail. Once again, we're going to go over all of these different rows and all the different fields when we come into the sketch tab tutorials. So going back into the selection tab, now we need to choose what we want, what entities we want Practicad to utilize underneath the conicals selection set. And in this particular exercise, we're going to report fittings. So we're going to check fittings. Notice here under types we have a list of every entity in the software. Everything from fittings to walls, hangers, steel, custom items, everything happens to be listed here. Once we check a specific selection set, Practicad is going to list those entities under the entities field. Notice here we have a list of all of the catalogs in the software, and now they are all unchecked. What we can do is simply check what fittings we would like Practicad to report under the selection set conicals. If a fitting is not checked, even if you highlight it on the drawing, Practicad is not going to report it. It only reports what's checked. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Practicam single wall. We're going to go into the round, and we're going to go into the transitions, and we're going to specify that we only want to check the fittings that we created our catalogs out of. And in this particular case, the conicals on the drawing were created from the fitting round reducer. Always make sure that you check the proper fitting here to match your catalog entities, or the report will not report what you're looking for. So what we're going to do here is we're going to check round reducer. Now, what we're going to do next is decide, do we want all round reducers on the software to be reported? Or do we want just the round reducers that happen to be from the conicals catalog reported? So if we only want round reducers from the conical catalog reported, we must create a new condition set. And these condition sets are identical to the Practicad layer mechanism, automatics. Virtually all the condition sets in the software are the same. Right here we get a field for building conditions. And the condition we're going to want to use here is we only want Practicad to report the reducers on the drawing that came from the catalog name conicals. And for this reason, it's important that you've watched all the videos on how to design custom catalog items. The first step of every report is to create what you'd like to report and then report it by the name. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say to only include in this selection set conicals those reducers where the catalog name equals, and we're going to type in conicals. Remember, like all sections in the software, this field is case sensitive. It is for this reason in the tutorials with designing catalogs, I always recommended calling the catalog names with full capital letters. This way we don't have to go back. For example, we're going to go over to the ductwork libraries. We're going to open up Practicam single wall round. We're going to go to the transition, round reducer. We're going to specify to save our changes so we don't lose what we've created. And in here you can see that the name of the catalog is conicals in capital letters. So that is the property catalog. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the backward tab to just go back to where we were in our conical report. And now what we've got here is the conical selection set again. So what we're going to do is close our browser. So we've got to click on fitting. Notice that when you click on the word fitting, up until that point, you don't see the selection set. See, if we click on wall and highlight it, there's nothing in the condition field. But when you click on the type or the entity fitting, you'll notice that right here, it opens up the selection set. And here we're going to say the catalog must equal conicals. That means that when we highlight all the duct on the drawing, the only thing that's going to be reported thus far in this selection set will be reducers, which come from the entities over here on the right, with the catalog name equaling conicals.